Some of you may remember, some of you might be watching this channel for the first time, but the Houston Texans just, I don't know if you remember, and I know I stopped mid-sentence there. I did a video a week ago, exactly a week ago, asking the question, did the Houston Texans just find the answer up the middle? And my answer to you now is the Houston Texans just found their answer up the middle. A week ago, I did a video on how the Texans should sign linebacker Azeez Al-Shaair from the Tennessee Titans, but formerly of the San Francisco 49ers. Now the Texans have actually done it. They have gone out and they have signed him. So here's what we're going to do in this video. We're going to talk about who they lost, Blake Cashman, the contract he received. We're going to talk about who they gained, Al-Shaair, the contract that he received, and then we're going to go out because there's another signing. We don't know all the info yet, so we're going to probably make another video on it, but they got another player, re-signed another player of their own, so we're going to hit that in the back half of this video as well. But first, I want to go back to what I did, and before I do that, if you haven't yet, please consider subscribing to this channel. We're always pushing for more subs. We get that base up. It just guarantees that we have more people watching our videos, and that you'll know when our videos go out. We don't want you to miss our videos, so please consider subscribing. It's your first time watching. Thank you so much for watching. Welcome to the channel. Wait till the end. See if you still like it. So here's what we got with Al-Shaair. Now, one thing I do have to admit that I said in the video that I was definitely wrong on was the amount of money he'd be paid. I thought he was going to be a guy who was going to command mid-20s, and he's a mid-30s guy, it turns out. But he did prove to be a phenomenal run-stopping middle linebacker last year. So, Texans and former Titans linebacker Azeez Al-Shaair have agreed to terms on a 3-year, $34 million deal. So that is what it is. Now, he is a young player. He's been in the league for a long time, but he is a young player. He's only 26 years old, and he was a guy that was often mentioned in connection with the Texans last offseason. And the reason for that is because he is a former player for head coach DeMeco Ryans. He was at San Francisco for many years. He was at San Francisco for many years, 4 to be exact, before he went and signed a 1-year, $5 million prove-it deal. He was behind Fred Warner. Right? So he was behind Fred Warner. He would routinely get 300 or so snaps. But in 2021, he got, and I'm just looking down because I'm reading this, he got 730 total snaps. And that's when he kind of proved, like, yeah, he can be an every down linebacker if he needs to be. He can absolutely do that. This is a middle linebacker friendly system. And he wasn't even drafted coming out of college. So here we go. We have this guy, and then last year he was able to prove, all right, that he was a better player. I mean, this is a guy who put together, when you combine these numbers, almost 160 tackles. Depending on what source you're looking at, some say 163. This is coming up with 158. A lot of different stuff that you can look at, or 168. So anyways, a lot of stuff that's just nuts. No, it's 158. Look at my math. All right. Here's what the difference is between what you're losing. Let's talk about what you're losing for a second. Blake Cashman was off the ball linebacker. He was not a middle linebacker often. All right. Perriman played that role. Cashman did not have near as many tackles. However, he was just phenomenal in coverage. Phenomenal in coverage. His run defense was very good as well. Don't get me wrong. His run defense was good, but he was on the field for a ton of pass coverage snaps. So what you're losing is kind of that off the ball, I'm going to guard tight ends, wide receivers in the slot if I have to, running backs. That's kind of what you're losing, and what you're gaining is a pure middle linebacker. These are different players. Don't think of this as a one-to-one replacement. When I did the video a week ago, I was talking about Azeez Al-Shaair as replacing Perriman in the middle, not replacing Cashman. So I do want to make sure, though, because it is money one-to-one. Cashman signed a 3-year deal with a max value of $25.5 million. Part of that's because outside linebackers aren't as common, especially if they're not pass rushers. So you're losing a guy who's doing and covering the pass, but you're gaining another guy who's going to replace what your weakest middle linebacker was in Perryman. So don't think this is a one-to-one. Okay, so what does that leave you with? It leaves you with room to do. There's currently 4 linebackers on your roster, and I'll zoom in here for a second. And I think what you need to see here is Azeez Al-Shaair will immediately take in the middle linebacker role. Christian Harris is going to be the guy who is now doing a lot of what Cashman did on the outside. He's going to be doing a lot of what Cashman did, and then they have to decide if To'o is what they want him to be, or if they're going to need. So are they going to bring depth in at linebacker, or are they going to try and get another starter? Christian Harris, as you can see, is very good in coverage. He's done a good job in that and played a lot of snaps last year. I feel like Christian Harris can absolutely take the Blake Cashman role and take his career to the next level this year with even more opportunity. That's where I believe they are. The question is, everybody's sliding in different places. There's going to be, So anyways, that's what I got. Now, I also want to talk, I do think it's a good signing. The price tag's a little steep, but he's 26 years old. He'll be 27, obviously, when the season starts. And so they have him signed for his 27, 28, 29-year-old season. He's not too old. And I think that you needed a middle linebacker. This defense is different when you have an elite middle linebacker like Fred Warner was in San Francisco. So let it happen. All right, I told you I was going to be talking about another signing, and that is the Texans re-sign wide receiver Noah Brown to give C.J. Stroud a familiar weapon back. All right, Noah Brown is not just this athletically superior player, but he is everything that I love about the Texans. And here's the reason I love it. He was a Cowboy. And then he goes in to play with the Texans, and all of a sudden, he's phenomenal. Like, he is going off. And that just shows C.J. Stroud better than Dak Prescott. Noah Brown is a good player. The only thing that I can't grade on this is what's the deal worth. So we will talk about that at a later time. I'll make a video talking about whether or not it was good for the money, because if you're giving them like a 1-year, $10 million deal, it's like, take it easy, right? But for the most part, it's like, yeah, life's good here. But different than the linebacker room, the wide receiver room is packed. All right, you see all these guys in here. All right, you have Xavier Hutchinson, who did not grade out well, Tank Dell, Noah Brown, John Mechie. They haven't cut Woods yet. So, Nico Collins, obviously. I mean, look at that guy. So you have your stud number 1. You've got your number 2, who is looking like he should be a number 1. And then you have other guys that are still good players to put in there with him. Noah Brown, Robert Woods, if you hang on. John Mechie's only going to get better. So here's the thing. There was talk about, there's still talk, do we go with the T. Higgins trade? Do we try and get T. Higgins? All right, you already have Nico Collins. You don't need T. Higgins. I think that you can get a depth kind of speed piece if you want in the draft. But honestly, your wide receiver room's looking really good. You want to be able to go 5 deep. Right now, you have Nico Collins. You have Tank Dell. And then you go Noah Brown, Robert Woods, and John Mechie. You have your 5 deep. Would you like to see a little more depth in that 3-4 wide receiver area? Yeah, I think you would. But you have to be happy with what you have. So Texans found their answer up the middle, and they also added a piece on the outside or brought back a piece. That's kind of been the theme in free agency this year. It's not just teams going out and saying, we need to sign big-name free agents from other teams. It's, we know what we have. We like what we have. So we are going to keep the talent in-house that we have in-house. This is a team that unexpectedly made the playoffs and won a playoff game handily, by the way. You need to keep that band together and see what they can do. That is what you want. You don't want to just go frivolously spend. Continue building it how you built it, which is through the draft. All right. Hope you enjoy the video. Like, subscribe. See you on the next one.